Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, I'm pleased to have Bob George. He's the VP of Products at Dealer.com, and Chris Madison. He's the head of Performance Management and Strategy. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Brian.
Glad to be here.
So today, we are going to talk about the new GM website program. Just a few days ago, GM announced who would be in the program. Pricing was just recently announced, and the roadshow has started, so dealers can go out and meet with the 4 providers in the program. But I estimate that only half of the dealers will be able to get out to the local roadshow. So this podcast is designed to help educate dealers understand what's in the program from a Dealer.com perspective, and of course, the unique opportunities that partnering with Dealer.com has. So, Bob, let's start. Was there anything that you had to do to your core Dealer.com program and platform that needed to be adjusted for GM? And the reason why I'm asking this, if someone says, hey, I have a Dealer.com program for my Chrysler websites, is there anything you had to do specific to make your core platform compatible with a GM program?
Yeah, for sure. So all of the OEM integrations or programs we do have some level of unique integration. GM kind of took it up a level here by launching with this new program a whole new set of inventory and incentive APIs, and said to all the providers, this is what we need you to use for inventory and incentives. And I give them a lot of credit because they're trying to solve a problem in this industry that everyone faces around timeliness and accuracy and mapping to vehicles. And so honestly, aside from your general block and tackle website development and integration, this has been the big focus for us, is those inventory and incentive API integrations.
Well, one thing I do know from dealers I talk with, that in the GM program, CDK had a distinct advantage because they had built all those deep integrations. For the most part, if you were a GM dealer on a CDK website platform, those incentives were integrated and available day one, where program providers outside of that exclusive program could often take a few days, could be 24, 48 hours. So this is going to be a big win. So would you say, Bob, when incentives go live at the first of the month, will dealers have the same level of confidence that their website and inventory will be updated to the same accuracy that CDK had worked out over these years?
Yeah, and I think everybody will even go get sooner, and it's call it day zero, right? Because GM's also refactored a lot of these APIs, and what they're doing a little differently than what I've seen before is they have both an incentive, a VIN-based service for incentives, where here's the set of VINs and here's the set of rebates that match. And that's what builds like the math box on the website. And then they have a set of your make, model, trim, et cetera, based incentives. And that's what builds your marketing collateral throughout the website, like your slides and your specials and incentives pages.
Thanks, Bob. I think that outlines exactly the answer that I wanted. Chris, as you prepare your team, the performance managers, the strategists, there are some doubts that cutting over a few thousand GM dealers is going to overwhelm the new providers. Can you give our listeners a little bit of, background on how are you and your team going to handle these onboarding challenges?
Yeah, I think nobody in the business has the scale of Dealer.com. We know how to roll out websites at scale like nobody else. And that's not only true from a technology perspective, but also from a service and support perspective. So we have already been preparing our service and support teams who will be dedicated to our GM dealers to be ready for all our great new GM dealers to join the Dealer.com family. We've been very focused on that over the last couple of months.
And Chris, and I don't want to pin you to a specific number, but I don't mind asking hard questions. If a dealer signs up with your platform using the GM portal, what is a reasonable expectation that they should have for how long the process takes for them to see their new template, their new customizations, and then going live? What's your goal?
Brian, I can help with this one too. A lot of it depends on the level of engagement we get from the dealer, because so much of this kind of falls in the back and forth. From sign up, let's say, to when we can go live, it's usually maybe called 4 weeks is pretty typical. Now, your question though on how quickly can they see, kind of a base design and start seeing their inventory flowing in, that can happen in a matter of a couple of days. And what we generally find here is that, I know lots of cases where we've launched sites very quickly because some provider's turning them off at the end of the month. It's when the dealer is right on there, they're answering all the questions, they're saying, this is the feed, this is how I want pricing configured, and we can very quickly do that. So a lot of it depends on how engaged the dealer is with us throughout that process.
And I think that's a fair question. One of the things that I love doing is audits of dealers' sales process, marketing, and CRM. And we have these startup sheets. And I always chuckle when the dealer's on the phone, like, let's get this done. And how quickly can you get it done? And I say, well, listen, we're going to go as fast as you can. I need it in 3 weeks. So, okay, we're going to do the best we can, but you need to fill out these startup sheets. And, 2 weeks go by and no one wants to fill them out. So that's a fair response in the sense that it's really a two-way conversation.
Totally, and we, as Chris said, we've done this a lot where we've kind of learned where the traps are and really smoothed out, especially the inventory integrations and that sort of thing. And so it's on us to be the consultants and the guiders through this process, and really make it easy for the dealer to say, hey, look, here's the set of questions we need. We have standard questionnaires and all that, and once you answer those, we're off to the races and building and deploying the sites.
Great. So let's get into the nitty-gritty on Dealer.com's offering. So the other providers that are in the program, obviously CDK, DealerInspire, DealerOn, and of course, I would say Dealer.com probably has the most websites in the United States, followed by CDK, then DealerOn, then DealerInspire, if I had to guess. So we're talking about big companies that have many OEM programs under their belt. Why should a dealer pick your platform over the two other new entrants, or just staying with their CDK platform?
Sure. So I think we'll answer this in two parts. I'm going to start on the product side, and then Chris will jump in on the people side. From a product standpoint, I won't burn through all the features unless you want to extend this out 3 hours, Brian. But we really, no, I didn't think so. We really philosophically, as a product and technology company, believe that we have the best ability to enable dealers to meet consumers wherever they are in their journey, anytime, anywhere, any possible way. And I think if you think for the last 20 years in this space, websites and advertising, their whole process has been to try to push people to get inside that store, get them in the store, and then we'll close them. We've seen more and more shoppers and different generations, millennials, that sort of thing, saying, look, bring the store out to me, bring that experience out to me. And I think we're really uniquely positioned with some of our capabilities to do that. That's
fair. Chris, how would you answer that question? Stay where you are, or jump on a new platform? Why should it be you?
Absolutely. So not only from a product perspective are we the best in the business, but from a service standpoint, because look, we believe you buy the product, but you also buy the people that stand behind the product. And at Dealer.com, our people are hyper-focused on serving our clients in a way that's second to none. And this year, we've completely reimagined what it means to serve our clients. We're always focused on innovation at Dealer.com, and this year we've been hyper-focused on that from a service perspective. And we're really following the model of performance management that's been very successful at creating strategic value for our Viato clients and our VIN Solutions clients as well. And through that, we've elevated our service roles. We've invested millions of dollars in our employees, not only through training and tools, but also in their salary. And then on top of all of that, we're hiring some of the best digital marketers and retailers across the country so that our clients are getting consulting, I should say, from tried and true experts. folks that have likely faced the challenge that dealer's facing today and have overcome it.
Hey, Brian, I'd love to put a little weight behind the statement I made there around kind of meeting the consumer, because there's really a few pillars, and I think they play well from what Chris said. So I think of the kind of 5 differentiators in this way. Number 1 is, in order to meet the consumer wherever they are, you as a dealer need to be able to tell your unique story. Why buy from me? Right? Because the product, and this isn't just across GM, this is across the whole industry. The product is more and more kind of non-differentiated, right? In places where, hey, I could buy one car versus another. I don't really know. I could go to one dealer versus another. So when Chris's organization, and we're thinking in products, how do we build technology to enable a dealer to really tell their unique story? What is important to them, and what do they want everybody to know about them? And so that's where we use Composer, which is our industry-leading content management system. Dealers can go in and make changes really quickly. We can do it for them. That's a big piece here where we've fundamentally, you still have 2 questions in the industry: what car, what dealer? And we've really invested in that piece. Number 2, and I'll go quickly here. Number 2, we really put the consumer at the center of everything. Everything is data-driven from both Dealer.com and Cox Automotive data. We can drive relevant user experiences, and we can test them quickly, efficiently. We have the scale and the discipline to do that. Number 3 that we focus on is marketing automation and essentially efficiencies for dealers, because you can have the greatest platform in the world, but if it's cumbersome for a dealer to use, they're not going to use it because they need to focus on selling cars and building those relationships. They just told their why buy story. They need to now execute on that in the store. So things like our specials and personalization that include content creation and automation save our dealers time and money. 4th piece, and it dovetails nicely into this, is we drive integrations that drive efficiencies inside the store. So for example, our integration with VIN Solutions with VinLens tells the dealer all the everything that's happened on the website prior to the form being submitted or the call happening, and you're able to see all that context directly in that, and then that really helps them in the store have a better conversation because they're not starting from zero. And then number 5 is it's one login to control everything: our content management system, our analytics, our specials. And what I love about it is it's the same tool that our performance consultants use on Chris's team. So you're not in different systems. You're turning the screen to one another virtually or by GoTo or whatever and saying, here's what I see. Let's work through a strategy to improve.
That's great information. And I want to now dive in, not too deeply, because without the ability for someone to see your PDF on all your website packages, I want to keep it somewhat high level. Every provider in the new GM program has 3 packages, what they call a base package. Yours is $1,049. A plus package for Dealer.com is $1,549, and a Premier is $2,549. So each of the website providers has a PDF, and there will be links in my podcast description and my articles on the program to all these PDFs. And of course, the same information would be found on Dealer.com's website. So when I look at the different packages, Bob, obviously they have different features, and on a podcast, we don't want to necessarily talk too much in the nitty-gritty. But for dealers who just want a basic website, they're going to be paying a few more $100 a month, maybe about $300 more a month, up to somebody who wants a lot of services. You have the Premier package, and then a la carte. So you have video services, fixed operations. You have lots of great things. What went into this 3-tier pricing strategy? Was it something that GM required everyone to be on the same page with? And how would you anticipate dealers will select one of these 3 initial website packages?
Sure, yeah. From the beginning, I remember going out to the Ren Center in April of 2018 when this all started. GM was pretty insistent that they wanted a kind of a good, better, best, stair step, bronze, silver, gold, base plus Premier, whatever we landed on, right? What we did here on the base side is what I just talked about in terms of why come over to Dealer.com. We wanted to make that true at every level of package. So not only do you get access to our all the capabilities within our content management system and performance consultants and website platform, but we also baked in as standard, which we usually sell as a la carte elsewhere, that automated experience optimization personalization package. And so again, what that does for you is it creates slides and banners and specials automatically and then serves them to users based on personalization data that comes from Dealer.com, AutoTrader, Kelly, and other Cox Automotive properties. So, like I said, generally that is something that a dealer might add on. We kind of wanted to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, to drive that efficiency at every level, so we weren't asking dealers to pick up, that inside the store and spend time and ultimately money on it.
Great. And when I look at the Premier package at $2,500, I see a lot of great features, including SEO. And when I look at the managed services, it seems that Dealer.com for this program, and maybe I've been missing something, but it seems that you've been leaning a little bit more on advanced content and video. Now, video is my hot button. Most dealers have not invested sufficiently in building their brand promise in video. You have a standard custom video package and an advanced custom video package, and then a premium video package. Is this something unique to GM that you decided to include, or is this available across all your platforms and OEM programs?
Yeah, so it is available across our retail sites and a majority of the OEM programs. Video, we were in the kind of we saw the same thing that you did, Brian, where video, I'd visit a lot of dealers and say, what are you doing with video on both the website and the advertising side? And the answer was often not enough. And I know that, but it's operationally difficult, or it's difficult to coordinate, or I have to go to my agency and get it done and then flight it myself, and it's not cost effective. And so we have an advertising video product that we're launching too for NADA. At some point we can touch on that as well. But this is something that Dealer.com brought to market last year, and we've had some success in selling it, but really see it as core to marketing, especially how people consume content and media now. And we've partnered up with several organizations to be able to drive efficiency in development and deployment and offer it to our dealers.
Great. So Chris, here's a question for you. So we have the base package, the plus package, the premier package, and then some add-ons. Obviously, what I think dealers would be most attracted to would be premium content, premium video. Will the same level of support be given to the dealers regardless of their package? There seemed to be some confusion whether if someone went for a base package or if somebody went for the premium package, and then if they went to the premium package and premier, and then they added, another $2,000 or $3,000 in video and content. How does the dealers differentiate? Is this, I have to buy a higher package, or otherwise I'm going to get a subpar ticket system? Tell our dealers who are listening to today how they should understand the level of support they're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Brian. So at Dealer.com, we believe when you buy a product from us and a service from us, the product that you buy, you deserve to get an expert that helps you get the most out of that product. So if you buy websites or advertising from Dealer.com, you get an expert that's dedicated in this program to GM. All our GM dealers will have dedicated GM support from a performance consulting perspective that helps them get the most out of their websites and the most, out of advertising and whatever other products they buy. And on top of that, we'll also have dedicated GM technical support. And these folks, are going to be 100% focused on GM dealers and come with a ton of experience with the depths of our technology and the tools and the systems that are needed to support our dealers in this way. So you get that regardless of which package you buy. Now, when you go to, Premier, for example, and you buy, you get the really great content and creative, or, you step it up from an SEO perspective, you get SEO and content and creative experts on top of the great dedicated support you'll get from a performance consulting and tech support perspective.
Great. So that makes sense. So whether somebody buys the base or top website package, that same level of support exists. And then they're going to get some added product specialists depending on what additional services they add. So, Bob, I've been a big supporter of Google Analytics, and it seems like after screaming from the top of my lungs for the last 14 years, Google Analytics is being embraced more. I think Google Data Studio is helping products like VistaDash, automating large dealer groups. With the GM program, will Google Analytics be installed on every dealer, whether they ask it or not, so that if 6 months down the road they want to look at analytics, is it going to be set up where conversion goals are configured and the event layer is being reported? Give us some feedback on your standard install starting from the base package.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every website on Dealer.com's platform is instrumented with Google Analytics. On a lot of it, Brian, you gave us a lot of the playbook on this for some of our mutual clients, and so we fire some of our own events that we use for internal purposes. We fire events that we use that you then use. But yeah, we have our own analytics stack as well, as you're well aware. And essentially what we've done is for every time an event is fired on that stack, we also fire a comparative Google Analytics event, and then also add others in, from folks like you who give us the guidance on what you want to see.
Great. That's super news. And, as Google's working to enhance analytics, and now with this new metric of the showroom visits or store visits metric, I've talked to the Google team, and they mentioned, in order for the store visits metric to start appearing, that the dealer's Google Ads account, Google Analytics account, and Google My Business accounts needed to be connected. Is that also part of the Dealer.com strategy to make sure those three accounts are connected so the dealer can start to see store visits in analytics directly?
Yeah, absolutely. We as based on what a dealer wants to do or needs, we connect those for them. We're starting more and more to have dealers, using the store visits metrics. It hasn't fully rolled out yet, but yeah, we absolutely connect those properties because, as you say, Google requires you to in order to execute on that metric.
Great. Hey, Chris, from a services and strategy standpoint, there are going to be some dealers here who are afraid to change their website because of SEO, the impact. Will they lose their SEO juice that they've been building? What do you say to dealers who are concerned about that today?
Yeah, I completely understand where that concern is coming from. I mean, especially from a legacy perspective, it used to take a long time to rebuild, SEO prowess, if you want to think about it that way. But now with, how Google is running all this, we see, SEO rebound very, very quickly. And we're going to partner with our dealers every step of the way as we go to build these sites to make sure they don't lose any traffic in that transition.
Yeah, Brian, you probably remember the trough of despair or whatever, right? Where it was 8, 9, 10 weeks of SEO impact. And it didn't matter what you did. You could port all the content over, and it was because the markup and site structure changed. It just seems Google's gotten a lot faster, and we see it in 8, 9, 10 days now.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think with the schema markup, Google does a pretty good job of re-indexing page content. Obviously, if there was a lot of external link building, which most dealers don't do, those links would need to be updated. But I think with the impact of Google My Business as well, and since the primary URL isn't changing, Google My Business is a huge referral source of organic traffic. I would just advise dealers who have set up the specials link and service scheduling link in Google My Business when this cutover happens, make sure that gets updated, because obviously the URL for the scheduled service page or the specials page will change. Bob, you mentioned that Dealer.com is focused in serving the consumer, bringing the showroom experience to them. Obviously, Cox has their own digital retailing platform, and this is really not the opportunity we need to go through that. We're going to be looking at all the digital retailing platforms at the upcoming 2019 Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit in Palm Beach on November 17, 18, 19. But aside from the Cox digital retailing software, should dealers have any concerns if they're using a Roadster or a Modal or a CarNow or a Gabagoo? Are any of the other digital retailing platforms not compatible with yours, your core websites?
No, dealers shouldn't worry at all. Of course, Accelerate, it has some more robust integrations like search by payment that's using all the same services on the SRPs and VDPs and that sort of thing. But we've had the demand from our dealers to say, look, we like your website, we like the flexibility, but we really just want to use Roadster. And we haven't said, oh, well, okay, you can just fit that in. We've actually embraced it and said, okay, let's make it work the best we can. We have one OEM program that we've actually done work across because they're exclusive with us, but they have choice in the DR side, and we've done work to make those DR experiences better on the platform because, DR, as you and I have talked about a lot, is something that the industry is still trying to figure out what it means, what it does, what it's for. And our kind of approach is if you want to bring the DR solution to our platform that best matches your in-store process, your commitment to digital retailing, how you think about digital retailing, we want to welcome that in and make it really fundamentally work well on our platform. So it's less of just, we'll plug it in for you, but we actually optimize around several DR products to try to drive that consistent experience. And again, I talked about bringing the showroom to the consumer, like you said. That's one way in which we actually execute on that.
Right. Bob, one of the things regarding digital retailing and just websites in general is that there's a tremendous amount of information that you have from, they say, the campaign that referred the lead, how many times the person's been on the website. I mean, you have a lot of data. And of course, different digital retailing tools could leverage that data to create a better and seamless communication strategy at the dealer, but we're still living in a clunky ADF XML file. So specifically, when somebody fills out a lead form on Dealer.com, your platform, and obviously the three biggest CRM companies by volume, I guess, would be VIN, eLead, and DealerSocket. Are we still, meaning is Dealer.com sending that data via ADF XML, or are you doing any direct API feeds to be able to send a richer data set in the right fields?
Yeah, our standard is still secure post via ADF XML. We do have with eLead an API-based integration. It's used at not wholly, but sometimes for some programs, some dealers. On the VIN solution side, and I know what you're getting to here is we're improving our integration between Accelerate, Dealer.com, and VIN. And so what we're doing there is while it's still posted via ADF, we're doing work now to essentially check if there's already been a lead submitted and then update accordingly via API or another mechanism, so we're not sending the duplicate leads that then have to get reconciled within the CRM. So there's absolutely work to be done there. We totally acknowledge that. At the same time, though, we've kind of taken that problem head on, knowing that, to your point, a lead as we knew it even 3, 4, 5 years ago is quite a bit different. And we've had all sorts of debates internally on what the word even means. At the end of the day, we're talking about an opportunity for a sale or a relationship. And just like in a conversation that you and I might have where you learn a little bit more about me along the way, you shouldn't have to start over every time you talk to me.
So, Bob, this question is not meant to be critical. It's just meant to level set for dealers. Many years ago now, when Cox purchased DealerTrack, who had purchased you, there's a lot of promises made that the websites, the CRM, the DMS, the service schedulers would be tightly integrated. Here we are in 2019. A lot of dealers use Xtime. The way it's implemented, I really can't see the referral campaign data that comes to the website, which causes a scheduled transaction. We have the duplicate leads coming from Accelerate into VinSolutions and every other CRM platform. What
Right.
has been the holdup? It would seem to me that it would be the holy grail to have more native integration with Vin and Xtime. But here we are, 2019. It's not here. Man, dealers have been dying for this. And now it's just become like, well, forget it, because, now it's, 5 years in the tooth long. So what has been that challenge? Because one of the reasons why dealers may be critical of changing is like, hey, man, I just don't believe the hype.
Yeah, Brian, I absolutely don't want any dealers to give up on that. And I and a few others here have been diving into pretty deep there and building plans and around it to improve. I think to your question of why, and there's a couple answers. I'd say one might be focus. And if you think about, Dealer.com was pretty tightly coupled with AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, the kind of consumer side purely.
That's correct.
I think it took some focus away, and you know this from past NADAs. I think it took some focus away from that. I think also just coordination among the organizations. What I'll say now, though, that's great is that, and not to get into the inner workings of Cox Automotive hierarchy, but I ultimately kind of report up through the VinSolutions and Xtime hierarchy here. So you've essentially taken Dealer.com as an organization and said this should be very closely coupled with those, in the case of Xtime, also an online property, but the case of Vin and Xtime, both in-store properties, because at the end of the day, what you see on the website needs to reflect what you see inside the store in the desking and other processes. And so, I don't have a silver bullet answer for you, but what I'll tell you is the way we've organized more recently is exactly to go after that. And we asked ourselves a lot of those same questions.
Great. Well, I appreciate your candor. I'm asking this only because I know you have many longtime fans. You have people who have bought the entire Cox ecosystem and would really like to see these final pieces, because what it ends up doing is creating extra work in the BDC, deduping leads. It gives the fix-ops people less visibility in which marketing channels are actually driving a service schedule online. So there's a lot of upside. So I'm glad there's focus on that. When we look at support, Chris, one other issue I wanted to ask is for the GM program. If somebody has a problem, are they going to be first required to put in a ticket and have someone call them back? Is it a dedicated team that can help them right when they're on the line? Everyone's handling support a little differently. I understand that you mentioned that everyone will get the same quality support. What's the mechanics for a dealer who maybe sees something on their website which isn't supposed to be, and they're concerned, they're freaking out, and they call the GM support line? What could they expect with a Dealer.com website platform?
Yeah, so let's talk about that front door first, right? How do they get a hold of somebody? We want to give our dealers options. There's lots of different ways that our dealers want to interact with us, and we want to support all those different ways. And so as I mentioned before, we'll have a dedicated technical support team. We know the folks that we're seating this team with are really experienced technical support people, and the dealer can just simply pick up the phone, call this dedicated team, and work through resolution that way. They can also, of course, contact their dedicated performance consultant. This is the person that works with them day in and day out to build strategies and help solve problems. So they can reach out to their performance consultant, and if it's something that our tech support team needs to take on because it's a deep technical problem, we'll help shepherd that through the process. We do have a ticketing system. We leverage Salesforce, and so dealers will of course get updated through that. ticketing system. And then on top of that, we're going to launch a form that our dealers can fill out. If they don't feel like picking up the phone or shooting their performance consultant a text message, they can quickly fill out this form if they're in the middle of something and they can't do those other two things. And so we're trying to provide options to our dealers. If that makes sense.
No, it does, Chris. Bob, we've talked about a lot of things, and in the kind of respecting of the time of our listeners and giving everyone a similar set of questions that are going to be in the program. So the listeners today can know that I'll be asking the exact same questions to CDK, DealerOn, DealerInspire, but each conversation's a little different based on the products and platform and history of the company. Bob, Chris, was there anything else we missed that you wouldn't want a dealer to forget before they signed off listening to today's podcast?
Sure. On the product side, I want to make sure, everybody knows of some of the innovations we've been working on and bringing to market and how we think about innovation here, because at the end of the day, what we care about is if it drives performance, if it drives conversions, if it drives car sales, if it drives relationships. And so I thought it'd be worth calling out two in particular, and then some of the data behind it. So the first one is we entirely rebuilt our VDPs. And if you remember, this industry is interesting where you have all sorts of vehicle details pages out there, and you're trying to sell a $60,000 car with a 200 pixel wide grainy image. And that usually doesn't work very well. And so we really rebuilt our VDPs around making the car the star, very clear options and packages display, very clear pricing, simplifying things, removing a lot of the clutter, fewer calls to action, letting things breathe with more white space. Performance we saw there was higher form submission rates on the inventory side by 22% in an A/B test we ran across a couple hundred sites during this. And so that's real-time data. That's not any before, pre-post analysis. We also saw photo engagement go up quite a bit there. And what we're going to be bringing after that is all new search capabilities to NADA, and we're really excited to start to show you that. When we're down visiting Brian in November, I can give you a sneak peek of that. The other one I want to talk about, because I alluded to this a lot, is our experience optimization product, our personalization product. Again, that's something that's driven. You put personalized content on the website, versus non-personalized. You see click-through rates go up by 2.5%, or 2.5 times, right? That 200 to 250% increase. On the SRPs, it's even greater. It's like 6 to 7 times the click-through with a relevant banner. And what we've seen there is higher form submission rates as well by about 12%. The key there is optimization behind the scenes, where you as a dealer don't have to do anything. It's automated and turnkey. What we're going to be bringing there, too, you talked about X-Time, is actual service personalization that's based on X-Time data and audience and that sort of thing. So I wanted to just call those out because, we get a lot of feedback that people haven't heard from us and seen from us. And I want to make sure everybody knows that we are pushing this platform as hard as we can to drive that consumer engagement and drive better results for our dealers. And we need to share those things more. And it's just a great opportunity to do that.
Well, Bob, I do appreciate you getting all of us up to date with some of the newest things that are going on. Obviously, Cox Automotive has an amazing data set because of KBB, because of Autotrader.com, because of Manheim, obviously because of the largest footprint of dealer websites in the country. There's so many great opportunities for data usage and refinement to help dealers sell more cars in a digital age. I want to remind dealers that the GM Roadshow is something they should go out to, so you can meet with each of the 4 companies, talk to their representatives about your specific needs. I also want to encourage dealers listening to today's podcast, OEM representatives and leaders in technology and marketing, to come out to the 2019 Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. There's going to be some breakthrough conversations there regarding conversion, how we engage with consumers online. We're going to be tackling digital retailing. We're also going to be really uncovering hyper-local SEO and some things that dealers can do to significantly change their local visibility on Google Maps. There's a lot of fresh content and, of course, an opportunity to meet with Bob and the entire Dealer.com team and get some hands-on sneak peeks on what's coming down the pipe for the GM program. Bob and Chris, thank you so much for your time. I want to remind dealers who have a GM franchise to go over to Dealer.com's website to get additional information. And Bob, do you know the direct sign-up link? Where do they go to pick one of these 4 providers for the platform change?
Yep, just head over to gmdigitalstorefront.com.
Great. Well, thanks, Bob and Chris. I want to remind dealers that every Monday we release a new podcast. This is one of a 4-part series talking to all of the new providers in the GM website program. Bob, if a dealer wanted to ask you a question directly, what's the best email address for them to use?
Bob@dealer.com.
Man, how did you get that email address?
I know. I'll never give it away.
Well, thank you so much, guys. And I want to wish all of the GM dealers great success in the year ahead. I want to thank GM for listening to the dealers and giving them choice. And of course, the a la carte menu choices for each of the 4 providers really give the depth of services that GM dealers have been asking for. So we will follow up in a few months and talk to dealers about their experiences to see if they match up with the program promises that have been made today, and will be shared in our other podcast interviews. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for sharing your time with me on another podcast session.